afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday. And beginning at 1 p.m. Central Time, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon, you can find us on the radio at icradio.video, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, Channel 182 of Charter Communications, and Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the newscasters.com. We appreciate you watching every single day. I have AP Steadham with us right now, everybody's favorite talk show host and sports galore. And I'll tell you, there's something about Texas. People in Texas, do you have like a spy satellite out there or something, AP?
No, I don't know. But Texas, I've always watched them close to the University of Texas since I was young. Of course, I went to school at Alabama, so I'm always watching the SEC since I was young. But I'd always check out Texas as well. Texas, Oklahoma. It was fun to watch those teams because they were blue-blooded, branded teams known across the country.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. But you were out there. You've been out there to several functions in Texas, so that's probably another reason people watch you.
Maybe so. Yeah, maybe so. We interviewed some people about the University of Texas and Oklahoma. So yeah, maybe they caught those videos on our social media platforms.
Well, you had a video you did when you were out there, and it was pertaining to Kentucky. You want to lead us up to this video?
Yeah, Nick Roush of Kentucky Sports. He previewed the University of Kentucky. And Donna, we have so many Auburn fans that listen to the show, and that's a big game for Auburn. They're going to have to travel to Lexington. That would be October 26th year, whatever that is. So that's in Lexington, and they have that quarterback, Donna, Brock Vandegrift, that transferred from Georgia. He was a national quarterback of the country when he was coming out of high school, but he had to sit on the bench behind Carson Beck. And I think Kentucky this year is going to be better offensively because Brock is a good quarterback, and you have these receivers that have been there a while now, and I believe this is now or never for those receivers. They were freshmen. They would show glimpses of being very good players, but they weren't consistent, dropped the ball at times. But I think this year with Brock and the new offensive coordinator, I think Kentucky is going to be an improved team offensively, as is Auburn, because we know because of the receivers. But I don't think that's a gimme game for Auburn to go up to Lexington this year.
Well, let's look at the video, and then we'll see what people think about this. We'll be right back in just a second, folks.
Hi, this is AP Steadham of AP and Kelly, as we see it, syndicated radio, live in Dallas, Texas, at the 2024 SEC Football Media Days. We have a gentleman here who's going to discuss the Kentucky Wildcats, and our special guest is
Nick Roush from Kentucky Sports Radio. You can follow all my work at RoushKSR on Twitter.
Nick, the Kentucky Wildcats, I know a little bit about their quarterback, Brock Vandegrift, been around him and his family. I'm sure there's total excitement to have him as the new offensive coordinator as well, leading the Kentucky Wildcats this year.
There really is. I mean, Brock Vandegrift has 5-star pedigree. He was that in high school, the son of a high school football coach, so he knows ball. We like seeing him fishing too. He's a Georgia boy, but he fits right in with us here in Kentucky. And I think the big thing, AP, that he brings to the table, it's not just throwing the ball around, but he's a great athlete who can run the ball well, and that's really what made Kentucky's offense so explosive with Will Levis, is the ability to use your legs to extend drives by running for first downs on 3rd and long.
I always like Kentucky's receivers, but they've had some shortcomings catching the ball and not aggressive on the 50-50 balls. They've been there now a couple of years, and I think it's time for them to blossom.
You're exactly right, AP, and the thing with these receivers too, they came in with so much hype. Berrien Brown and Dane Key, the son of a former Kentucky Wildcat who was in Lexington, grew up there, 4-star recruit. The expectations were high. They delivered right away, but they might have read their press clippings a little bit too much. So there was a bit of a sophomore slump there, and to remedy that problem, Coach Stoops went out and he got Dykeel Shorts, a former West Virginia All-Big 12 wide receiver who spent time coaching wide receivers with Dana Holgerson. And Stoops, he mentioned in his opening statement, he really likes the addition of Shorts because not only is he younger, he played the position. So when he demands something from it, that experience that he has, I think it really makes it clear, like, okay, guys, we got to listen to this guy, because they want to they want to make that paycheck, right? They want to use this year to go earn it in the NFL. And so I think after a bit of a difficult 2023, they're ready for big seasons in 2024.
What about the tight end position? You're going to have very much production from that slot.
It's the only position where they didn't have to go to the portal to really fortify it, because Vince Marrow, who's UK's ace recruiter, does a lot of the heavy lifting. That's his room. So he takes care of his guys. And what's nice, too, is they have, a real road grading blocker in Josh Caddis. They've got a guy in Kamari Anderson from Detroit who was an All-American as a high schooler that might have the highest NFL ceiling. But Jordan Dingle, he can make some plays, too, out in the passing game.
So there's ample ability at that position.
There's a lot of guys at that position. And the same with the offensive line as well, where you're returning 4 of your 5 starters. They went to the portal and got Gerald Mincey from Tennessee and Jalen Farmer from Florida to really reinforce that room, because if you want to point to one area where they've fallen off in recent years, it's offensive line, and big men lead the way at Kentucky. So they had to get that right, and I think they will this fall.
Yeah, Mark Stoops' team, we know they like to run the football. Who will carry the load at the running back position? Will it be a few players?
I think Chip Trainum's the number 1 guy. He's always been the number 2 guy. He was the number 2 guy at Ohio State, but he punched in the game-winning touchdown at Notre Dame with zeros on the clock. He's a big physical guy, and we don't know a ton about Bush Hamden's offense, but when he's called plays, he's always had a 1,000-yard rusher, and I think Chip Trainum can be the next one at Kentucky.
What about the defensive side? Mark Stoops, he's always found these athletes with length. They've stayed there a few years, been good players in the league, and I just always felt confident that his defense was competitive most of the time. Especially
against the run this year. It's going to be really hard to run the football against Kentucky, and it starts with number 0, Deion Walker. He's a future top 5 draft pick. I mean, this guy's 6'6", 330, and he can line up at defensive end. I mean, it's one of those, when you watch Kentucky play, if they're on defense, just watch 0, because he is such a joy. And what's crazy too, AP, is it's not just how big they are in the trenches. De'Aaron Jackson, who was here today in Dallas, one of the best run stuffers in the SEC. And then they added Pop Dumas Johnson, who was an All-American that excels at stopping the run. He was at Georgia, got hurt, got replaced by 5-star, but they should be really, really stout in the middle of that defense.
They've had some good people in the secondary. How is it for this coming season, 2024?
The secondary was a disappointment last year, where it's hard to replace starting cornerbacks. It is. And so they took some lumps, but they really found a star in Maxwell Harrison, who led the SEC in interceptions. He had a couple of pick sixes last year as well. And it's really just finding the other guy. And DJ Waller, they lost the high school recruiting battle to Michigan, but then they won it in the portal. And that's one of those guys you talked about with the length. I mean, he's 6'2". He can tie his shoes standing straight up. He's got catcher's mitts for hands. He fits that mold. If he can, it might take a little while for him to get going, but the cornerbacks could be a strength. If the secondary hits, this defense is going to be one of the best in the Southeastern Conference.
We always ask the question, can the kicker win the game?
He can, which that worries everybody, right? You don't know, but Alex Rayner, he started his career at Georgia Southern. He only missed 1 field goal last year. Now, it was a little weird. He didn't have that many attempts because they would get stuck in no man's land, but 40 and in, they're confident in him. I think 45 to 40, it's a little shaky, and past that, it might be a challenge. But Alex Rayner is a kicker that I think the Cats can rely on.
Mark Stoops, all coaches evolve. Has Coach Stoops evolved this year? Maybe something different?
I think part of his evolution is getting back to what he did well, where the last few years you had Will Levis returning. Then they get this highly sought-after transfer portal quarterback in Devin Leary. And they kind of got away from what they were, and that's a team that's going to run the ball effectively downhill to set up the pass. And I think this whole offseason has been about creating that mentality, that chip on their shoulder, that Youngstown tough that really got them to where they were early on in his tenure. It's all about getting back to the basics for the Cats this fall.
Stoops ball. Hey, we want to thank you, Nick. We really appreciate it. This is AP Steadham with AP and Kelly, as we see it, syndicated radio, live in Dallas, Texas at the 2024 SEC Football Media Days.
Okay, so what is Auburn going to have to do to combat this? This is going to be a battle.
Yeah, Donna. And I was just double checking the schedule. This is on consecutive weekends, Donna. Auburn has to travel to Missouri the weekend before, October 19th, and then travel to Lexington, Kentucky. Like I said, both teams have very good quarterbacks. So when you're on the road, Donna, the most important thing is to start fast, because you want to quiet the crowd. You want to give your team enthusiasm and positive energy. So you're trying to put points on the board, make a drive, They can command the clock for a certain amount of times where the other team's offense is on the sideline if they have a very good quarterback wide receiver connection. So I think it's important for Auburn's offense. And Don, a lot of times you'll have scripted plays. Some coaches, they'll script the first 10 plays. They'll be practicing them all week, running those 10 plays over and over and over again. And you run those plays. There's a slight audible, as you can call probably in dire situations. But getting on the board, having a good kicking game. In other words, kicking game, I always say that you must make those 40-yard field goals and end. The ones from 40 yards and lesser distance. But if you can have solid security with the ball, move the chains to keep the other team's offense on the sideline, and you can do that early, then you put the other team on their heels because they're thinking, oh, this team is really ready to play. The crowd's not affecting them. They're moving the football on our defense. We're in for a real ball game today.
It's all about attitude as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Fearless.
Before we go into a commercial break, before we go in, AP and Kelly, as we see it, where you're found right here on IC Radio every Friday, Football Friday at 4 p.m., and that is Central Time. What's going to be up, or what did you do last week?
Yeah, last week it was the Eye of the Tiger. We had the voice of the Auburn Tigers, Andy Burcham, and we had the voice of the LSU Tigers, Chris Blair. So people could listen to that episode on Spotify and every Friday, 4 p.m. Central, IC Radio, Football Friday, AP and Kelly as we see it. So this week, I think we're going to maybe delve into the quarterbacks, and I'm going to want to discuss that when we come back down, all the quarterbacks in the league.
Okay, let's do it. Let's go into a commercial break, and we're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors, and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday. We definitely appreciate that. Beginning at 1 p.m. Central Time, we have AP Steadham right now with us, and AP is a sports enthusiast. He's a talk show host. Do you bleed sports? I mean, what is it with you?
You know, I guess since I was very little, Donna, that was always the discussion. You know, older brother and my dad, they like the sports, and uncles and things. So I learned about it, SEC football, since I remember seeing, I think, you know, around the ages of 8 years old when you started to watch the football game, probably something like that.
Well, I'm glad you're that way, because this is where we get all of our info. You wanted to talk a little bit about quarterbacks when we came back.
Yeah, Donna, you know, there's 16 teams in the league now, so Oklahoma and Texas on board, but not just reviewing the quarterbacks here. I think that about a dozen teams out of the 16, I think will have an above average quarterback, meaning, and that's defined as, I think the quarterback can win a game for his team. And the other four teams, I'm not saying they won't have good quarterback play, but I have to see it. Some of them are transfers from Baylor and Boise and Utah, among others, and ones that will be a newcomer, a starter, South Carolina possibly, and then Robbie Ashford, you can transfer from Auburn to South Carolina as well. But I think that a dozen teams, that's a lot of good quarterbacks in one league, Donna, I think. I'm not saying they're winning the Heisman Trophy, but I think some of these quarterbacks, potentially a couple of candidates, but I think that when you have 12 quarterbacks, that makes your league very strong. Because in this day and age, a lot of points are being scored. You have all these receivers that are big and fast and strong, and then the tight ends have been so effective on certain offenses, and there's some good athletes there. But I just reviewing it, I just think there's at least a dozen quarterbacks that are going to help their team win a game at the end.
That's what it's all about. Now the quarterback also has to have respect of the other players, and it's still about team spirit. I mean, you're all working together on this. Are you seeing a few folks who might need to work on that just a little bit?
Well, the newcomers at quarterback, for instance, Tennessee's quarterback, Nico, very talented. He came from California, big, strong quarterback, a lot of potential. So I think that will be work in progress. But I think they have confidence in him now because he's been with the team, a couple of years, and he's on the bench waiting for his turn. But I think that he's going to command the attention with his performance. And Don, a lot of times you have quarterbacks that are more verbal than others. But really, when you produce on the field, Don, you don't have to say very much. You really don't. You just lead your team.
That's absolutely, and they also have to be able to take guidance, from the coach and maybe even from other folks too. That's another character that's a must.
Yeah, we've seen that. Jalen Milroe. That's one example from last year, and he was benched for the South Florida game after getting beat by double digits at home, by the University of Texas. So he got better and improved and developed as the year progressed. And so if you can take coaching, because Donna, we know that every week that film is reviewed by the opponents. If you stay the same, you might not be as effective the following week. So you have to come up with some new little wrinkles. And as a quarterback, you have to be able to make all the throws. And you might not start out being a short range passer, intermediate passer. We'll just use Jalen Milroe, except we know he can throw the ball long, but he's going to have to improve with those timely and precise patterns, the short range and the intermediate range. And all these quarterbacks, Donna, as we always mention, and we just like to say this to people listening, passing is rhythm. It's rhythm, Donna. Just like you're dancing. 1, 2, release. 1.5, release. 1, 2, 3, release. 1, 2, 3, 4, release. And if you're in that rhythm of throwing the ball, your team is going to be moving the ball, making first downs. Receivers are going to be having big days, and you're going to be giving fits to all these opposing defenses. But passing, Donna, it's not like it used to be years ago when you drop back to pass, you might run around in the backfield looking for someone that's open. No, that's a busted play. In this day and age, Donna, that's a busted play. And you're still going to have to make some of those along the way. But you normally want to be in the pocket, finding your receivers right, middle, left, and delivering them in a timely manner and being accurate and having the touch on the ball, the proper touchdown. Sometimes you have to deliver a hard ball, fast ball, because it's a small window and the defenders are closing. Other times you're going to just lay it up there nice and soft for the receiver to make the catch on the run. But passing it's an art, Don. You practice many hours and days, and during the summertime to get the timing with your receivers, your running backs, your tight end.
You know something, Jared had a good question sent to you, and it came in on Saturday, and he said this pertains to, of course, players, earning money and having sponsors, that kind of thing, and he's all for it. He says, fine, let it happen. Yes. But he wanted to know if maybe the rules could be relaxed just a little bit on celebrating.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that's right? Those rules are going to be relaxed just a little bit?
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to interpret his question. I like people to have fun, to celebrate when they score a touchdown. I like for them to celebrate, particularly with their teammates, or you make a gesture to the crowd. But what I don't like is when it gets into the gray area of taunting the other team. So that's a borderline situation sometime, Donna, where the official has to make that call. Mm-hmm. So I think that the league, they like to promote celebration as long as you don't delve into the area of taunting the other team and inciting players to squabble and fight on the field or the fans. But I'm all for celebrating with your team, just individually celebrating. I'm all for those things, having fun, but I don't like it when anybody taunts. I never accepted that as being part of the game.
I kind of would. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but if you and I were on opposing teams, I'd be taunting you like crazy. I mean, I just would. But I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, but now does some of this happen to be the interpretation of the
official?
Yeah. Some people would say, well, that's taunting, and then some people would say that's not taunting.
Right. There probably is some borderline scenarios where the official makes the call, and of course the coach will protest and call the league office and then on Monday and say, I want you to check out this video. Man, he wasn't taunting anybody. It's something he did that he normally does when he scores a touchdown, and it had there's no evidence of him taunting, but the official made that call. So yeah, you're going to have those down. Yes.
Yeah, and then like you and I, let's say we were playing checkers, okay, and you're beating me. I mean, we're friends, so we would. Right. I would think the officials would kind of give us a little leeway, because you and I would taunt each other. You would do it too, because I know you. So I mean, so a lot of it's left up to the officials, and I think the relationship of the players.
Yeah, I think the official. Maybe they have a little discussion with the coaches beforehand, and just they'll discuss that topic and say, look, we want to have a clean, fair game, And when you score a touchdown, as Coach Bryant would always say, act like you've been there before.
Now, we also had, and this is from a guy, this is from Tom.
Yes.
And so he wanted to know what your opinion was about the Olympics, where you know where I'm heading with this, and you know how that turned out with the wrestlers, with the woman and the man. Well,
Oh yeah, Donnie. You know, I think I've always stated this on your program and others that I'm all for competing, Donna. But my feeling is, if you were born one gender, and if you want to become another gender, I believe you should have a separate category, because I just think it's truly, totally unfair for a man to be another gender, try to be another gender and compete against a woman. It's just not. My sense of fairness comes through strong, and if you want to compete, I say great, compete. But I think you've got to create a third competition. I really do, Donna, and I feel strongly about that. If I had a daughter, I had a sister, and she worked very hard her entire life to be part of the Olympics. Mm-hmm. They should be competing against people who were born as women. Like I said, I am. That's how you want to lead your life. That's fine, but I'm not going to let you in my competition. It's women versus women, men versus men, and we've seen women compete in a men's category as well, right? We've seen that, play college football as a kicker and different things. But that's the way I feel. And I'm all for competition. I'm all for competing. I'm all for inclusion. But to me, that's a third category. That's not a man or a woman. It's a different category.
I agree with that. And I'm into, whatever floats your boat. I may not agree with it, with the lifestyle, but I believe that's your own business. You're going to hit me that way, whatever it is that you have to do. But I'm just telling you, AP, if you and I got into a wrestling match, you would win because you're a man, and you just would. So I would, if I were in the competition, I would just say, look, I'm bowing out. If that's the way it's got to be, as much as I've trained for this.
Right. I would definitely protest. My feeling is the people in authority have to make the correct, and in my mind, there is a correct decision in this instance. It's not, well, we're going to make this decision or to have them compete. I think that's a totally wrong opinion with a capital W. I feel strong, and I feel very strongly that a woman who's been training her entire life, and all of a sudden, there's a person that was born a man, they're going to be competing against you. I have a strong sense of fairness, and that is not fair in my mind.
Let's just have a man and a woman. Then, if you're confused, have three categories.
Like I say, have the three categories. That's fine. I'm totally at this point, and there's been a lot of changes, as we know. People make changes all the time, Donna. I'm for that third category.
Absolutely. I think it's a great answer. AP, we're going to have to call it today. Thank you so much for being with us as always. We always look forward to interviews. Football Friday at 4. Now that's 4 p.m. Central Time right here at ISC Radio Station, where we're your Fox News affiliate. AP, again, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you, Donna. My pleasure.
And thank you for watching. We definitely appreciate it. Continue sending those emails, by the way. I have more emails. I should have went to those, but we'll catch up with them. We'll do them next week.
We will.
How about that? Okay, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.